Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. What are you thinking right now? Of course, you're thinking about drinking some water because you were just chanting.
I was thinking today we are starting up.
Better drink some water also. Hare Krishna. What are you thinking? Huh?
I was in void.
Void. Oh, really good. What was in the void?
Not exactly thinking.
But not exactly thinking. What does that mean? I caught you. Hare Krishna. Did you get saved up today? What would your mother say?
Now she's fine.
Yeah. Does she live? Where does she live? In Odisha. You're Odisha? Jai Jagannath. Jai Jagannath. You live near Jagannath Puri?
100 kilometers from.
Oh, so very close. How many times have you gone to Rath Yatra? And of course, in every village, practically every town, there's Rath Yatra. What do you think of Rath Yatra? Hmm?
Festival of Lord Jagannath coming out. No Lord comes from outside. Himself.
Have you read Chaitanya Charitamrita and the description of Rath Yatra when Mahaprabhu was dancing? Have you read that yet?
I heard class.
Yeah. It's quite amazing, actually. It's very, very deep, the meaning of Rath Yatra and the ecstasy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very deep. Actually, there are 3 parts to Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the middle part is Madhya Lila, of course. And then there's 25 chapters in Madhya Lila, and the middle of that is the 13th chapter. And in the middle of that is Mahaprabhu's ecstasy in Rath Yatra and his dancing. And the internal meaning of that, it's quite wonderful. One day you should read it after you read Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Have you read all of Bhagavad Gita?
How many times?
And how much of Srimad Bhagavatam have you read?
Third time.
What chapter?
11.
9, yeah. You've read the 9th chapter? And what chapter do the 4 Kumaras go to Vaikuntha? Maybe in the 4th. I also forgot. That's also amazing. But here we are in the 1st canto. which is most amazing. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Chanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Navasesha Sunyavadi Pasatya Desatarane Om Agyanataminandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chaksu Samilatan Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sa Padantikam Vanchakalpa Triyubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vaibhacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Hare Krishna. What very difficult question am I going to ask you now? You should already know. Yes, okay. Does raise your hand if you remember something from yesterday? Yes, Paul. Oh, I'm sorry. Could you speak a little louder? Someone's say.
Get to the final exam.
Oh, yes.
Life.
Thank you. Death is the final exam, and life is preparation for that because that determines our next birth. It's so consequential, and yet people, very rarely someone takes that very seriously. Thank you. Anyone else remember something? Yes.
Arjuna and Ashwatthama both were in a fearful condition.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Ashwatthama panicked that time.
He was panicked. He was fearful, and he panicked.
But Arjuna was also fearful, but he took shelter of the Lord.
He took shelter of Krishna. Yes. Thank you. What do you remember? Oh, so what do you remember about yesterday anyway? Did you have a good day yesterday?
Yeah.
Why?
I was hearing glories of Bhishma Dev yesterday.
Oh. What do you remember from that?
Like how he is one of the 12 Mahajan who,
He's one of the 12 Mahajanas.
yeah, who have always taken shelter of Krishna and guiding us through his way of living.
Oh yeah, wonderful. That's the very next chapter. We won't have time to read that, but amazing chapter. Anyone else remember something from yesterday? Now everyone remembers. Yes, Prabhu.
When there's a testing situation,
When there's a?
testing situation,
Yes.
what we take a shelter of is very important.
Yes, and it's something that we should be conscious of when we're in difficulty. When we're in difficulty, we should watch and see where our mind goes for shelter. Did anyone have any great difficulty today? Well, that's good. Did you have difficulty today? You had a happy day? Good. What made you most happy? Uh-huh.
There's nothing so much like that.
Did you remember Krishna today? Nice. Okay, last, who will say something from yesterday's class? Yes, Paul.
We discussed that in yesterday's class we discussed that all our life we have to increase our dependence on Krishna, and that is what Srila Vyasadeva also is actually while introducing Srimad Bhagavatam, and through that pastime of Arjuna and Ashwatthama we understood that how Arjuna took shelter of Krishna and he was completely dependent on Krishna in that situation. So we have to increase our dependence.
Yes. Now, there was something else, same point, but something a little bit different, which was a thread that went through the three pastimes we spoke about yesterday. First, we spoke about Arjuna, and Krishna was driving his chariot. Then should we kill him or should we not kill him? And Krishna protected Arjuna. And then Krishna solved the problem of should we kill him and not kill him. And then with Uttara, Krishna protected the child within the womb, and he also protected all the Pandavas just by his chakra. He did it all himself. And the devotees had the characteristic, perhaps you remember when we read this, and the devotees had the characteristic, they were exclusively dependent on Krishna. And they always thought about him. Do you remember that? That was in the verse, or maybe it was a purport. Their consciousness exclusively, that means ekeha, just simply one-pointed in their dependence on Krishna. And second, they were always thinking about him. Their minds were so attracted to this Supreme Person. And then Krishna protected Uttara in the child Mara's cricket in the womb, and he protected the 5 Pandavas. And what struck me also was that he told Arjuna how to protect himself from the Brahmastra. But he had the power to protect Arjuna himself. But yet he did it that way. We can think of reasons why he did it that way, but in any case, he could have done it himself, but he chose to do it that way, to protect Arjuna that way through his instructions, instead of just dissipating, removing the fearful Brahmastra by his own power. So sometimes we also become in situations, and even though we don't like them maybe, and we wonder why Krishna has done this, and the reason is because he does whatever he wants to do. Because he's, in the words of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he's the transcendental autocrat. What does autocrat mean? He does whatever he wants. He's independent, swatantra. He does whatever he wants. Transcendental autocrat. Raise your hand if you're a transcendental autocrat. Raise your hand if you'd like to be an autocrat. Maybe. But we can't be, because you have to be all-powerful, all-knowing. So there has to be gradually, perhaps, or quickly, depending upon our consciousness, a trust, full faith in this transcendental autocrat. If we don't trust him, how could we surrender to him? Sharanagati, which is the beginning of devotion, not the final result of devotion. What's the final result of devotion? Prahlad? I caught you, yes? You weren't here yet. You were just now arriving. What is the final result of devotion? Krishna Prem, Prema Pramartamahan. But the doorway into that is Sharanagati, or giving oneself to Krishna, or surrendering to Krishna, or returning to our natural position in relationship with Krishna. And then if one does that, fully trusting that I am a servant of Krishna and that he will protect me as I serve him, then we make progress, great progress in devotional service. So the Bhagavatam is teaching us this right here. Because this is how Srila Vyasadeva is introducing Krishna, that he's protecting his devotees. He's solving their greatest problems. How to kill and not kill someone simultaneously. Seems contradictory. Krishna inspired Arjuna. And then he protected the Pandavas with his chakra from the Brahmastra. Now, does anyone remember when Uttara was running to Krishna saying, I didn't read the verse, but Krishna, Krishna, Mahayogin or Mahabhago, please protect me. Krishna, 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 protect me. Where was Krishna at that time? The Bhagavatam actually said, where was Krishna? Do you know, Mataji? He was leaving. He had mounted his chariot and he was leaving. And then, are you going to stay? Betty. He was leaving because his work had been done. Now this person, Krishna, he's a person. So this person who's all powerful, loves his devotees, and whose devotees love him, who's beautiful, who took care of the Pandavas in every situation, he's now leaving. And everyone who is being left behind was in great distress out of their love for Krishna, because the nature of loving relationship is that when one is separated from one's beloved, it is very painful. Even when the calves went out with Krishna, when they were just young calves, and this was the first times they were away from mother cow. And Krishna was so kind to them, actually. Our acharyas say that he would massage their legs, and he would, run this hand around. Do you ever do that with the calves like this? I heard that it's very good for your blood pressure, by the way. Did you ever hear that? Going like this to the calves. And then Krishna would take his head and put it against their head, their foreheads, and say, do you miss your mother? Don't worry. You'll see her again soon. Our acharyas say that Krishna is so... And then he's gone. When Krishna would return with the cows, then Krishna would enter his house. He would bathe. He would eat, and then he would take rest. And the cowherd boys would all go to their houses, and then in the middle of the night, the boys would come out. Krishna, Krishna, it's time to go. It's time to go. Let's go. And Mother Yashoda would say, you just left him 1 hour ago. It's in the middle of the... Oh, sorry, Mother, sorry to disturb. And then they'd go back and someone else would come out. Krishna, Krishna, let's go. They couldn't tolerate being separate from Krishna. They lost track of time, that it was still dark. And now that person who was so attractive, all attractive, we can't even conceive of how attractive, what does all attractive mean? The sum to all beauty, all intelligence, all strength, everything that attracts them, all renunciation, all wealth, fame, everything that's attractive. Krishna is like an ocean of that. And everyone wanted to be with him only. So when Krishna would leave to herd the cows in the morning, the whole town would come out, all of Vrindavan would come out, and Mother Yashoda would be crying, and the gopis would be crying, and the cowherd boys would be laughing because this was their time. Let's go. And Mother Yashoda would come out and say, oh, now don't, Balaram, you know how restless Krishna is, you stay always with him. Yes, Mother. And Sridham, you stay on this side, and Vijay, you stay on this side. Yes, Mother. And she would send food out every hour, and the cowherd boys would say, if they had they would, how long will this go on? Then Then they'd go out a little bit. Mother Yasoda would come running and crying. And don't make sure that you get enough to eat and be careful and always protect him. Don't let him. Yes, Mother, yes, Mother. They couldn't tolerate. And then when he would be coming back in the evening, every return with the cows and the boys would be dancing with, and the cows, the dust from the hooves of the cows would be raised, and they would be singing the glories of Krishna and what Krishna did that day, and everyone would be so ecstatic because Krishna was returning. The whole village would come out. And now, that same Krishna who has captured everyone's heart, he's leaving. And Mother Kunti came out. Now, her prayers are wonderful. Her words are wonderful. We won't read them all today because I wanted to speak a little about them. But I'd like to read some of the first prayers. Now, what I'm going to do is read some of the initial prayers, some of the first prayers, and maybe I'll speak a little bit about them, and then we can talk about them in a little more detail and read some of Srila Prabhupada's purports, or parts of Prabhupada's purports, because they're so wonderful. So so Krishna's on his chariot, and Kunti comes out with the Pandavas. And she says, Namaste Purusham Twadam Ishvara Prakriti Param Alakshasa Vabhutanam Antabahir Navashitam. She says, I offer my obeisances unto you. She loved him like a mother loves a son, but yet she knew who Krishna was. She knew that Krishna was the Supreme Lord. And she offered her obeisances to him, even though she was his senior, yet she offered her obeisances. And you are the original personality, the original person. There was no one before you. And you are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. You're acting as if you are my nephew. How do you say nephew? And the mother's brother's son. How do you say that in Hindi? Maja. And Kannada? Oh yeah, no one's from Bangalore, I forgot. How do you say in Odia language? Okay, there we go. So even though he was her nephew, acting as if he was a person, but yet a completely different kind of person than we are people, because we are affected, as the verse of the Revelation describe. Conditioned souls are acting under the control of the modes of material nature, trigunatmakam. But Krishna is free from the mode, and yet he acts. We act because we are compelled or forced to act, but Krishna is not forced by anything, and yet he acts in this way. So she recognized that Krishna was free from the qualities or the modes of material nature. And listen to this, she said, Antar Bahir Vastitam. You are situated inside and outside of everything. And yet, you're leaving. You're beyond the range of our limited sense perception. You are the eternally irreproachable factor, covered by the curtain of the deluding energy. You are eternal. You are who you are, but you are covered by the deluding energy, by Maya. And even though you're inside and outside of everything, that means you are everywhere. But because of this covering of Maya, you are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized. So there you are, on your chariot, and you're going to be driving away, and when you were young, you stole butter, you did this, you did that. And no one can recognize who you actually are. Even though you're inside and outside of everything. In other words, you are everywhere, but yet you are invisible. Why? Maya javani kakshanam. Maya, the illusory energy, is like a curtain. When the curtains are closed, we can't see the deities, even though they're there. So similarly, Maya, although Krishna is inside and outside of everything, he's always present. We cannot see him. That's what she says. Just like an actor dressed as a player, an actor on stage, he's not recognized because his costume is amazing. And also another explanation of this is natya dara yata nato. Another explanation is when an expert Bharatnatyam dancer is dancing, the way they move their eyes, every gesture of their fingers, every gesture of their body, their smile, the way they move their feet and dance, it all has deep meaning. But someone who lacks knowledge of Bharatnatyam, they don't understand anything, practically speaking, the expression. Are there any Bharatnatyam dancers here? Prahlad, are you a Bharatnatyam dancer? No, not in this life. Everything has meaning. The way they move their eyes like this, and their fingers and the mudras and this and that. But unless one has knowledge, nothing is understood. So similarly, because of the curtain of Maya, no one recognizes Krishna as the all-powerful Lord, because he's acting as if like an actor on stage. He's often considered Natabara, the best of dancers, the best of actors, and he dresses in a special way, and no one could understand the fact that he's that person that Vyasadeva saw, the Parama Purusha, Krishna Parama Purusha. Aha. It came from this side. Oh yes, Prabhu, it's okay. Anyway, it's a nice ringtone. Did you ever consider having a cow mooing as a ringtone? That would be so nice. So these first two verses explain that Krishna, she understands who Krishna is, and he's free from the modes of material nature, and yet he's that supreme person that Vyasadeva saw in his revelation, and no one can recognize him because of the curtain of the material energy of Maya. Because what we want to learn after hearing how Krishna protects his devotees, and how kind he is to his devotees, how he solves their problems, and he's all powerful. Naturally, we want to know, how can I move forward in my relationship with Krishna and have that kind of an intimate relationship with Krishna, be one of Krishna's intimate devotees, so I can be with him naturally. This is what's supposed to come to the heart, to the mind. bhakti upadyate pumsana. The bhakti to Krishna should begin, the desire to be with Krishna, to serve Krishna, to love Krishna, to be in his care. That desire should sprout like a seed within the heart.